here. So we got mock draft. Number 3 is the name of the stream here. We're going to start with the NFL mock draft 3. So this is the third one. So now we're in the mock draft area where there is bluffing going on, right? So the first mock draft is a bit of a true thing where teams are really going in one direction or another direction. You kind of hear the truth. The other thing, the second one is then you got post free agency. So now you filled some needs, so you need some change. Now we're totally in the bluff season. So now teams are out here saying things that are completely untrue. Why? Because they don't want the other teams to know what's going on. So let's get to the mock draft 3 part. So this is the third one that we have. Some changes, some stays the same. A lot of the picks change based on now what's been happening in free agency. So now we know what happened in free agency to some players. We know exactly what's going on there. Apparently, we're having trouble streaming on Twitch here tonight. So let's go ahead and get this squared away for you. So let's take a look at the draft. So at the top, I think it's the same. It's all but a foregone conclusion that the Tennessee Titans are going to take Cam Ward. I think he's very much like the late Steve McNair that they had. Can Brian Callahan corral him and get a guy that they understand how to use and everything? I think that is probably the biggest thing with the Cam Ward. Can you actually use him properly to go ahead and be successful with Cam Ward? Shedeur Sanders, I think, is going to be 2. I don't buy any of the smoke saying that they're going to do Abdul Carter or any of that stuff. I do think they have to have a quarterback. Look, Kirk Cousins, and I don't buy it. I think Myles Garrett signed there. I think one of the reasons he signed is because they're going to sign Shedeur Sanders. He may drop after this. There are some teams, if he gets past 3 with the Giants, which I can't imagine, I think he may drop. There is some negative about him. I think Shedeur, I think, is going to be number 2. Travis Hunter, I think, is 3 for the Giants. They could take Abdul Carter, but I think they're probably, if they do have anything on the Giants, I think they do have good offensive line. They do have good defensive linemen. So I think the need for Hunter is probably more for him than it is Abdul Carter. We could argue back and forth. Abdul Carter for 3 in New England. Offensive lineman, I think, is still a need for them, probably the biggest need, but you can't pass on a generational guy like Abdul Carter. Mason Graham is a great fit for the Jags, I think. I think like they definitely, their biggest need is probably, you could say, D tackle inside. This is a guy, I think he's a notch below Carter and Hunter and as far as generational. Not as big a need as the quarterback, but definitely top 5 player in the draft for sure. In a lot of drafts, in a weaker draft, he might be a number 1 player. Mason Graham, I think, is 5 for the Jags. Ashton Genty, I think, goes to the Raiders. Look, they were my dad's favorite team. Al Davis's Raiders, now Mark Davis's Raiders. They love to take those skilled players. They don't like necessarily offensive tackle. No, they want to take a wide receiver. They want to take a running back. They want to take a quarterback. So they signed Geno Smith. I think taking a guy with Genty, I think, is definitely, absolutely a Raider move. Also, too, Pete Carroll is there, want to run the football, establish the run. You could take it. You could do it with a guy like Genty. Take him in the top 5 and establish that. Will Campbell for the Jets. I'm going to concede that probably Will Campbell is going to be the number 1 player taken. I don't love him. I think his leverage is good. He's a good pass blocker. To me, his arms are kind of short. He's not strong enough to me to be that high. But I think the Jets' need for the tackle is so big. I think that's probably the direction they're going to go. Campbell's probably the best. I like actually Banks more than him, but I definitely think Campbell is going to be the pick there in that spot. Jalon Walker for the Carolina Panthers. Panthers need edge, I think, more as much as any team around. I think they're definitely going to have to take it. I think Walker is the best player on the edge that's left on the board. Outside of Abdul Carter, I think he's more now of a outside linebacker-ish type, 3-4 edge. May have to evolve a little bit in Carolina, but I definitely think he's going to be your pick. Mikael Williams, his teammate at Georgia, as edge. This is more of a traditional down lineman. I think he fits better in New Orleans. It's tough to tell the direction they're going to go. They have a couple needs there in New Orleans, but definitely you got Cam Jordan getting older as well. They finally may be getting out of cap jail here pretty soon, so they do need some help on defense. I think Williams, is the best sure edge rusher, probably of the guys here, of the edge rush, maybe as good against the run as any of these guys. So this is a good choice. Calvin Banks, I think, goes 10 for the Bears. Bears still need offensive tackle help. They did do a lot with the offensive line. I'm not thinking they're done yet. Definitely, they got guard to guard. They could use a tackle for sure. So I definitely think Banks is a fit for them at tackle. Definitely offensive line. The job 1, 2, and 3 for them is to protect Caleb Williams. James Pierce for the edge in the Niners. I think the Niners are pretty much in a soft rebuild, even if they go ahead and re-sign Brock Purdy. I think edge for Pierce, best one on the board. Now, not as sure of this group here of these edge guys, so you're gonna not getting not like Walker in the higher group, but definitely fitting in a good defense. Any guy, I could say this: you want to develop a D tackle or a D line or edge rusher, have him play on the other side of Nick Bosa. That's a good idea. That might be a good idea. Amarian Hampton, North Carolina. So I definitely still think Dallas needs to take a running back early. I think there's some convention of going with Henderson or Jenkins or whatever going in the second round. I don't think they wait at all. This is easy their biggest need on their football team. They have to take a running back. I think Hampton is pretty good. Now, the question is, maybe this is a little high for Hampton, but I think you could play him in the first round. Definitely more traditional between the tackles guy, though. Definitely a guy like Brian Schottenheimer, like a defensive guy like him, will know how to fit it. And I don't know much about Schottenheimer yet as a head coach. He's been an assistant his whole career, but definitely his father, Marty Schottenheimer, this is exactly what he would have done. This is exactly the type of player he would have taken. Big, strong, bruising back as well. Armin Membu for the Dolphins at offensive tackle. Membu, I think, is the real deal. I think he's a right tackle, though, a guard. I don't think he's going to be a left tackle at any point in his career, but definitely you could put him in right tackle. Again, good situation for him. Having Armstead on the other side where you can develop an Armin Membu, I think you could put him in right away. I think it's a pretty good argument between the top three guys, Will Campbell, Calvin Banks, and Armin Membu. I've heard people say all three different guys as far as the leader in the fairway. Pick your poison. I think the run blocker is Armin Membu, and I think the Dolphins are going to go there. I've had Tyler Warren, the other two mock drafts for the Colts. I think I'm going to have him here. There is a chance that he could go higher. I don't think so. I think there's too many needs for those other teams there. Tyler Warren, this is 9-1-1 for the Colts. The annoying Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay have to take Tyler Warren here. They need a tight end. I think that's their biggest need. Shamar Stewart, the edge for the Falcons. I think this is a bit of a roll of the dice. I think like you've seen this before. This is the guy who plays great football in gym shorts. Looks great with his shirt off, ripped, etc. Like this on the field, the production isn't there yet. I think people kind of fall in love with the measurables, which you never know. I mean, sometimes that might work, but the Falcons, this is a definitely need for the Falcons. They have to take edge. They passed on it last year. They struggled with it all last year. Matt Judon didn't work out for them. They have to figure out a way to rush the passer. It can make a big difference for them in wins and losses. Mike Green, I thought he did play well at the Senior Bowl. So definitely it's a need for the Cardinals. I think this is a guy could be rising on the boards. I think always it's a little fairly unfairly a little biased against guys at a small school like him, but I think this is a solid player. I mean, he looked really good against better competition. So I'm really comfortable taking him here. Going to be a lot of edge rushes. A lot of teams need edge rush as well. Kenneth Grant for the Bengals. Bengals have showed up that wide receiver thing. So they went ahead, they signed T. Higgins. They went ahead and signed Jamar Chase. So that's definitely not a need. They may extend Joe Burrow. They could use some help on offensive line. I don't know if one is there. Secondary, possibly, but I think like a D tackle like Grant is definitely a need. BJ Hill's going to need some help going forward. They definitely need help on defense. Tyler Booker. I'm very positive that Mike McDonald is going to take an offensive guard. Booker, I think, is a fantastic choice for Mike McDonald. I love Booker. He's a mauler, and he is a technician. He's got good hands. He's more of a mauler than he is the hands. I think some people are saying that. I've seen him. Great hands, great footwork, great size, strong. I think definitely this is an absolute need for them. They're gonna do quarterback Sam Darnold. They want to go ahead and protect him. Jai Campbell, definitely a need for the Bucks. Definitely, you got. I look. Deontay David is about 49 years old now. At this point, the other linebacker didn't work out for him. This is definitely big time prime need for the Bucks. So definitely they need this. This is the guy, and this is if you want it in the first round. This is the guy that you have to take. Jai Campbell, 19. Colston Loveland for the Broncos. I mocked him here before. Pretty sure they take him if he's there. I think there is a chance, but this is the best, probably deep receiving tight end in the draft. Definitely the vertical stuff, down the field, all that. Not quite Shannon Sharp, but definitely going to Denver. That's definitely what you're thinking. If you have a Bo Nix, you're definitely looking for a guy like this. A Colston Loveland. A couple more. Jade Barron for the Squealers. Jade Barron, I think, is a great. It's too easy for people to say he's a good nickel guy because I think that's obvious. I think in the slot he's really going to wreak havoc, but I think he can play outside on the corners at either side. Joey Porter definitely needs a partner with him, so I think Barron, I think, is a great port. I do think they're considering Jackson Dart here, at least. Whether Aaron, we think Aaron's going to sign. I don't know why Aaron hasn't signed already, for God's sake. But everybody thinks he's going to sign there anyway. But I think they're considering that here. But I think Barron, short of that, I think they take Barron. I think Barron winds up winning out. McMillan is kind of dropping in the draft along with a lot of these receivers. I have him at 22nd here. I do think this is a good situation for any receiver, especially a rookie. Look, good run game. They're going to run the ball a lot. They got Najee Harris here in the run game. The Chargers they're going to run the football. And so you have Latin McConkey on the side. McMillan for Arizona got the graphic right this time, Kenny. So Arizona got the graphic right. Dropping a little bit in the draft, hearing some things. I'm not surprised. These receivers don't blow me away when I'm looking at them. McMillan probably the best one, but I can understand it. Luther Burton for the Packers, definitely need a receiver for the Packers. I actually do like their receiving group, but there's a lot of injuries there. A lot of their guys get hurt. I definitely think getting another young body in there, you're possibly not going to have Christian Watkins at all next season, so definitely that's a move. Look, the oldest starting safety in the NFL might be Harrison Smith for the Vikings. Why not get Malaki Starks, who definitely I think he's a plug-and-play starter right away. His last season wasn't his best season, but Starks, I absolutely believe, is a guy that you could play right away at safety. Absolutely need going forward, even though they did resign Harrison Smith going forward. Gary Zabel moving up the boards, great Senior Bowl. I think he can play tackle. I think he can play tackle. He did play tackle at North Dakota State, which is a very small school. Zabel, I think, is good enough. He'll probably play guard. On the Texans, he'll probably play guard. I think they'll take a look at him at tackle, which is why I think the Texans will draft him. I mean, they want to take a look at a guy with this type of versatility starting at either spot, so I think the Texans do that. Josh Simmons, and as far as the Rams go, I think he's moving up some boards too. Injury was pretty serious last year. So I think that is still going to give some teams pause. Somebody may take him higher. I still kind of think teams would be apprehensive. I don't think the board's going to fall that way. I don't think Sean McVay lets this guy go past. Definitely a Josh Simmons here in the first round. The Ravens, Donovan Jackson. So when Josh Simmons got hurt, so who was playing for him? Donovan Jackson. So Ravens definitely need a guard. Look, Daniel Falele, God bless you. That ain't gonna work. Andrew Voorhees was benched last year, so maybe they're ready to go with more experience. But I absolutely think this is still the biggest need. Donovan Jackson, you can put him in. We'll talk more about the Ravens draft here in a second, but definitely that's a player they have to look at. Donovan Uzurku from Boston College. So edge, they're going to get Aiden Hutchinson back. I do think they go defense. For sure, I think they go defense, but I definitely think this is the highest guy on the board. More, again, to traditional 4-3 guy, exactly what they do. Could partner up with Aiden Hutchinson. I know that's exactly what Campbell is looking for there, somebody to do that. Jack Sawyer, edge with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Not the Redskins, the Commanders. The Commanders definitely could use edge. I think defense is where they go. They went ahead and filled some needs on offense. Definitely think those Ohio State those Ohio State edge guys, very impressed with those guys. Derek Harmon, tackle for the Bills. Bills, I think, are they right now? You could argue if they're the best team in the AFC, and I think Derek Harmon absolutely helps them do that. They did have to get rid of some guys, but definitely that's a need to go next to Ed Oliver. This is best player on the board. Best player on the board. No one particular thing the Bills have to do, I don't think, in most spots. But this is definitely somebody you could take in the first round, a guy who could have went much higher. I got Josh Conerly for the Oregon Ducks going to the Chefs. The Chefs did get Jalen Moore. I do think they still need offensive tackle. They're starting a guy that's really never started before. Jawan Taylor really struggled. I still think that's a big need for them. JT Timberlow from Ohio State. The Eagles have a knack for taking these defensive guys and have them become studs no matter where they take them from. This is a very productive guy at Ohio State for the national champion Buckeyes. There you go. Round one of the draft. So, couple things. Not really buying the smoke with Shedeur. I don't buy it. I don't think a lot of teams are waiting for Shedeur. I think the Browns are going to take him. I think the Giants are going to definitely take him. So I do think I'm really not buying a lot of the smoke with him as well. A lot of these teams are going to follow suit, so definitely late in the draft. I think the Steelers might be looking at a quarterback late. Dart, I'm not as big on him. I kind of don't understand why but I definitely think they're going to look at it. They may have to take him in the first round. So definitely keep an eye on that as well. All right. We got no draft. So we did the rest of the league. Let's do our squad. The Baltimore Ravens, third mock draft, still at 11 picks. I do think they're going to take a lot of these picks. I think they may trade out and go back, but I think they're going to take a lot of these picks. So let's go ahead and take a look at the draft. We just talked about Donovan Jackson. The comp, I'm going to do John Simpson, former Raven with the Jets. The only concern I have with Jackson is he's not really, as far as a zone blocker, I see some weaknesses there with him, but that's the only flaw I'm thinking I'm seeing. Maybe he needs to get a little better zone block. He's a very good pass blocker. Very impressed. That's why he's playing tackle. But I think you put him at guard. I think he maybe needs to work on that. But otherwise, very good stuff for Donovan Jackson. The name Isaiah Thomas from Florida State. Jamal Dean is the name that comes up for the Bucks. This guy, I'm saying Jamal Dean, but the guy, the back in the day guy I'm thinking of is Marquez Pope for the 49ers. This guy is physical on the outside. So definitely you need a guy on the outside that's going to be physical, that's going to push you, that's going to, he's going to he uses his whole body to go ahead and block people. So that's the guy. Cover corner, absolutely. And definitely he could tackle in the run game. You can put him at safety if you need to. I think definitely he's a guy. Corner, I think, is a need for that. Bad lesson over there. Barrett Carter for the Clemson Tigers. Zach Cunningham for the Broncos is the guy. Cunningham, I think, is kind of a good comp for Barrett Carter. Just a good instinctive tackler. A little bit smallish, not a tremendous hitter, but an instinctive tackler. Finds a way to get to the football, go to the football. So definitely, he played. I believe he played on the same team as Trent Simpson at one point. I think that's right because he played at Clemson for Dabo. So, but definitely a guy who could float a football. I don't know if he's a starter right away, but definitely a guy who can put in and you know what he's going to do. He's very good he's fascinating because he's very good in that intermediate area. Not some guys you could say linebacker, great at the line of scrimmage, linebacker, great coverage. He's kind of great in between, right? He kind of lives in that space, not really up on the guys, not really deep in coverage. So it's interesting. Barrett Carter, number 91-3. Malaki Moore for the Alabama. You know how much Ozzie Newsome likes these Alabama guys. I do think he's really being slept on. A little small. That's the only thing. I think if he was a little bit bigger, I think they would. If he was like 215, 220, he's about 210-ish, 205. So he's a little small. I think that's the only reason he's dropping. Everything I like about Malaki Starks, though. Malaki Moore. Nothing not to like about Malaki Moore. I think definitely being slept on. Solid tackler, solid hitter. A little small, I think that's the concern because at safety, can he hold it physically? But other than that, he's great. Definitely reminds me of Budda Baker from the Cardinals. Typical Raven-like stuff here. The comparison to Matt Judon, small school, outstanding production, great speed. Played at Central Arkansas. When you got a guy at a school like a Central Arkansas, like a locally a Shenandoah or something, something. If he's going to play in the NFL, he needs to be the best athlete on the field. That's what every time I saw David Walker, that's what you saw. He's the best athlete on the field at a small college. So definitely he's a guy they can bring in and compete for that edge rush spot. This is exactly the spot I think they would pick a guy. This is historically what they've done. A guy, tremendous speed, great quicks for Derek Walker. Troy Horton, I think he's the only one I have marks again from the last one from Colorado State. Definitely they're going to need some competition for that wide receiver spot. And kick returner, Luke McCaffrey for the Cardinals. Great hands, can catch the ball over the middle of the field. Definitely good on special teams. Holland Pierce for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So definitely a guy that played in the Big Ten. Another guy really slept on. I know why they don't like him because his bend isn't great because he's so daggone big. He's at least 330. I don't buy the fact that he's 320 nothing. This guy is at least 340. That's a lie. He's trying to not be too heavy and out of shape, but he's a really big guy. Reminds me of the great Mark Tuinei, played for the Dallas Cowboys. Just a big guy. Get his hands on you, forget it. Not going to happen. You're not going to just push him around and all that. He's just got to stay in good enough shape. I don't even care about the bend because he's so strong. Definitely a guy. I think had he played at a bigger school, he'd be definitely going higher as well. Not as also good in the run game. I think the more concern that I saw it for a guy his size, he should just be throwing guys farther than what he is. he looks a little timid sometimes in the ring, but definitely a guy absolutely being slept on. Oh, real quick, Max Brosmer. I don't question his arm at all. Every time I've seen Brosmer, I've always been impressed with his throwing arm, his ability to throw downfield. He doesn't throw outside the numbers great. I think that's a little bit of a pause. Played a lot of years at New Hampshire, played last year in Minnesota. I think developmental guy is definitely worth taking because the physical tools are there. Probably a career backup, but definitely something the Ravens want to look at. Even though they got Cooper Rush, you could put this guy on the practice squad or a third string. Definitely a guy worth looking at as well. Brosman is being slept. I thought he was dropped on as a player last year. Ryan Fitzgerald kind of reminded me of Greg Zerline of the Rams. Tucker's out of the door. You can't do what he's doing with all these massage therapists and all these women and kicked out of the league and play poorly and stay on the team. I think Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh are being nice by, out of some respect for him, but he's gone. I definitely think at the very least he's going to have strong competition in camp. I think Fitzgerald, 6th round. I do think they go in the draft and do it too. I don't think they wait till after free agency. I think they're going to do it in the draft, make sure they get who they want. Ty Hamilton, I have Mike Patterson of the Eagles from years ago, undersized, but maybe he's very valuable. I think he can definitely fit in a rotation like what we have. You're definitely not going to start, but he definitely can fit in a rotation. There's no question about it. Good speed. I think you could take him in the 6th round. John Madden always said, if your guy comes from nowhere late in the draft or undrafted, you take a big guy, you take a fast guy. Here's the big guy, Nazir Stackhouse from Georgia. Kind of reminds me of Michael Pierce. Just a big, strong guy. Just Kenny State. Had this been the NFL years ago, for sure he'd win higher. But I think because of his size, never going to really be an edge rusher, a pass rusher, but definitely a big old strong nose worth taking. He's here this late. He's definitely worth taking a shot on with his size and strength. There you go. So we got through it. The both drafts. The offensive line is a spot that the Ravens definitely have to look at. So guard, I think, is definitely a thing. Guard is definitely something that the Ravens absolutely have to look at going forward. Taking a guy early as well. Holes on defense, but definitely things that the Ravens are looking at as well. Safety is one. Defensive backfield, their holes. Holes on defensive line after the starters. A lot of work to do. Do they take 11 picks? Yeah. They might trade one and replenish, but I don't think they trade up and do anything. I think they want to keep all those picks and fill the holes that they have in the draft. So there you go.